It's the final stretch here in the United States, less than 48 hours left until polls close, until a new president is elected. Americans will be lining up to vote at polling booths tomorrow, but a lot of them have already voted. More than 77 million of them. How? Through early voting. Here in America, you can request a ballot on mail. You can then fill it up, select your candidate, and then drop it off in ballot boxes or even mail them via postal services. More than 77 million Americans have done it so far. That's around 48% of the total turnout in the last election. They've already voted. So clearly, early voting is the future. In 2020, the Democrats dominated this field, but this time, Republicans have caught up, mainly because Donald Trump has changed his position on this. Last time, he opposed early voting. This time, he's supporting it. Around 38% of early voting has been done by the Democrats, and Republicans are at 36.2%. So the gap is pretty narrow. Now we come to the opinion polls. Who is leading and by how much? Well, Harris has a narrow edge over Trump in the national polls. But like we've said, that doesn't really matter. It comes down to the Electoral College, to the swing states, the 7 swing states. Let's look at the situation there. Harris is leading in Nevada by 3 points. She's leading in North Carolina by 2 points, in Wisconsin by 2 points, and in Georgia by 1 point. In Pennsylvania and Michigan, things are even, and in Arizona, Trump leads by 4 points. Now, these numbers make a couple of things quite clear. One, Harris has found some momentum, some new momentum. Apparently, last-minute undecided voters are picking her. And two, Donald Trump is also consolidating. Harris may hold the edge among early voters, but on Tuesday, it's all about in-person voting, and that remains Donald Trump's core. Which brings us to the campaigns. Both Harris and Trump are hitting the swing states. Harris spent a lot of time in Michigan. Meanwhile, Trump spoke in North Carolina and Georgia. As I said, this is the final stretch. Most voters must have already made up their minds. So it's all about the finishing touches now. Kamala Harris focused on the Muslim vote. Michigan is home to around 200,000 Arab Americans. They put Joe Biden over the line in 2020. They helped him win. But this time, it's not a guarantee. Arab Americans are angry about Biden's support to Israel in the Gaza war, and Harris may have to pay the price for it. She tried to do some damage control on Sunday. She promised to end the Gaza war if elected.
I want to say this year has been difficult, given the scale of death and destruction in Gaza, and given the civilian casualties and displacement in Lebanon. It is devastating. And as president, I will do everything in my power to end the war in Gaza, to bring home the hostages, end the suffering in Gaza, ensure Israel is secure, and ensure the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, freedom, security, and self-determination.
Beyond that, she stuck to the script. She accused Donald Trump of dividing America, promised to fight hate politics, and to resolve the cost of living crisis. Strange, because she's already vice president. And that's been a struggle for Harris, really. She's a member of the current administration, but the current administration is deeply unpopular. Biden's approval ratings are at 39%, so Harris finds herself in a spot of bother. She can't criticize her own government, but she can also not embrace it. So Kamala Harris has opted for middle ground. She's not calling for new leadership. She's calling for a new generation of leadership.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next president of the United States of America.
On the other side, Trump did what Trump does. He held a number of rallies on Sunday. Most of them had the same theme: America is a broken country, only he can fix it. It's a strategy that worked for him in 2016. It's finding even more takers this time around, it seems, because of the cost of living crisis. Trump's campaign is mostly centered around two issues: tariffs and immigration. We saw that again on Sunday.
The United States is now an occupied country. Can you imagine having to say, we're an occupied country? But it will soon be an occupied country no longer. On November 5th, 2024, it will be Liberation Day in America. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program of criminals in American history. I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered, and we will put the vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country.
Some extreme rhetoric there, but clearly America likes it. Donald Trump also trained his guns on pollsters and journalists, quite literally. You see, Trump was surrounded by bulletproof glass at the rally, but those glasses had gaps. Trump said he wasn't worried, though, because to get to him, an assassin would have to shoot through the press corps, and Trump says he doesn't mind that.
I have a piece of glass over here, and I don't have a piece of glass there, and I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind.
Trump also took issue with a new poll. It says Kamala Harris is leading him in the state of Iowa. The poll has surprised a lot of people because Iowa voted for Trump in 2016 and again in 2020. The last Democrat to flip it was Barack Obama. If Harris does that, it would be a big setback to Donald Trump. Of course, his campaign has rejected this poll. They say it's an attempt to demoralize voters. And frankly, there's a lot of that going on this time around, especially on social media. Hundreds of posts are spreading fake news about the election. Most of them are Trump supporters, but some are Democrats too. And why are they doing this? To destroy the credibility of the election process. Around 70% Americans think that Donald Trump will not concede if he loses, that he will question the results like he did the last time. His supporters are laying the groundwork for that. Let me show you some examples. This video is from Pennsylvania. An influencer filmed a man dropping off a large number of ballots. He said the whole thing was suspicious. But guess what? The man was a postmaster. His job is to drop off ballots. A lot of accounts also posted pictures with this caption: "I live in Canada, but I drove down to vote." The idea is to say that even Canadians are voting for Harris. Again, it's a false claim. That first video was debunked by poll officials, but not before it got 6 million views. Plus, it is unnecessary work for the election officials. They must conduct fair elections. At the same time, they must also bust fake news. Why can't social media platforms pitch in? Because they are part of the problem, especially Elon Musk and X. He is the most followed person on his platform, and he is pushing fake news. Elon Musk says Democrats are making illegal migrants vote. He also said if Trump is not elected, this will be the last US election. Again, fake news and dangerous rhetoric. Of course, if Trump wins, none of this will matter. But if he doesn't, expect nervous days for America. Washington is all set for a presidential battle like no other.
In less than 90 days, it's either going to be him or me sitting in the Oval Office.
Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump.
All we want is one simple thing: get out on Tuesday and go.
A vice president versus a former president. As we head towards election night, Vantage will be live from the heart of the action. Speaking to voters in this final stretch,
I'm still very undecided.
Very close presidential race.
Tracking the campaigns as they make the last push. From exclusive ground reports to in-depth analysis, this is your one-stop destination for the presidential race. Join us on this special edition of Vantage, live from the White House in Washington, D.C.